Welcome, dear dreamer. Tonight, I invite you to leave behind the noise of the day, to set aside your worries and cares, and to step aboard a train unlike any other. This is not a train bound by timetables or maps, nor one that hurries across crowded rails with urgency. No, this is the sleepy train, a gentle carriage that moves at the pace of your breath, gliding softly through landscapes painted with starlight, winding through the hush of the night. As you listen, you may close your eyes and imagine the rhythm of wheels against the tracks, the faint rocking of the carriage, and the soothing voice that accompanies you on this quiet voyage. You are here not to hurry toward a destination, but to enjoy the ride, to rest, and to dream. Imagine now that you are standing on a quiet platform beneath the silver glow of the moon. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of pine trees and dew settling on wild grasses. The platform is empty except for you, and the silence is so deep that you can hear the whisper of leaves moving gently in the wind. Then, far in the distance, a low and steady hum begins to grow. It is not loud, not harsh, but soft, like the faraway purr of something vast and kind. The sound swells and echoes across the stillness until, slowly, the outline of a train begins to appear out of the darkness. It is unlike any train you have ever seen. Its windows glow with a soft golden light as if each one holds a tiny lantern. The carriages shine faintly, silver and pearl-like, reflecting the moonlight. Instead of smoke rising from a chimney, small sparks of light flutter upward, like fireflies released into the night sky. The engine does not screech or roar, but hums in a deep, calming rhythm, like the steady beat of a lullaby. As it slows to a stop in front of you, the train releases a gentle sigh, as though even it is tired and ready to rest. A conductor, dressed in a uniform the color of midnight, steps down from the first carriage. His hat sits slightly tilted on his head, and his eyes sparkle with the warmth of someone who has been waiting for you. He does not ask for a ticket. Instead, he simply bows slightly and gestures toward the open door as if to say, "Come aboard. This ride is yours." You step up, and at once you are greeted by the warmth of the carriage. The air inside smells faintly of lavender and cedarwood, a fragrance that feels both grounding and dreamlike. Plush velvet seats line either side of the carriage, colored in soft shades of deep blue and muted gold. Small lamps with frosted glass shades cast a gentle light, neither too bright nor too dim, just enough to create a cocoon of comfort. The floor hums beneath your feet, the gentle vibration of wheels ready to move again. You take a seat by the window, and the conductor, with a reassuring nod, pulls a lever by the door. Slowly, the train begins to glide forward, as smooth as a feather drifting down through the air. The wheels roll with a rhythmic whisper, a sound so steady and soothing that it seems to sync with your heartbeat. The platform drifts away, swallowed by the mist, and outside the window, the world begins to open. The landscape is one of quiet magic. The train glides first through a meadow drenched in moonlight, the grass shimmering silver, as though each blade has been brushed with stardust. Wildflowers, their colors softened by the night, nod gently in the breeze. Fireflies blink in patterns, dotting the meadow like tiny lanterns in the grass. In the distance, a river wanes like a ribbon of glass, its surface mirroring the constellations above. You lean against the window, your reflection soft and blurred, and feel the motion of the train lulling you deeper into calm. The steady rhythm, the warmth of the seat, the glow of the lamps, all of it wraps around you like a blanket. The conductor passes through the carriage, his footsteps nearly silent, pausing now and then to adjust a lamp or to check on an empty seat. as though ensuring that every corner of the train is as comfortable as possible. When he passes you, he smiles knowingly, as if he understands that this ride is not about where you are going, but how you feel along the way. The scenery changes as the train curves gently to the left. Beyond the meadow rise low hills, their slopes softened by mist. The moonlight clings to their outlines, giving them a quiet, otherworldly glow. The train does not climb harshly, nor does it rattle. It glides upward as though floating, each curve gentle, each incline effortless. Outside, owls drift silently through the air, their wings wide and soft, disappearing into the darkness as quickly as they appear. Inside the carriage, the air is hushed. The lamps flicker faintly with each turn but never fade. A faint melody drifts from somewhere. You cannot tell whether it is from the wheels on the track, the gentle vibration of the carriage, or perhaps an old music box playing in the distance. Whatever its source, the tune is sweet and slow, a melody without words, one that feels as though it has been playing since the beginning of time. The train carries you onward, the rhythm constant, the scenery shifting in slow, dreamlike layers. You pass through a grove of trees where the branches lean over the track, their leaves catching the moonlight like thousands of tiny mirrors. You pass fields where tall grasses sway in long, sweeping waves, moved not by wind but by something gentler, as if the earth itself breathes in its sleep. As the journey continues, you notice how the air changes with each passing mile. At times it carries the scent of rain, though no clouds are in the sky. At others, it smells faintly of honey and wildflowers, as if the train has brushed through an invisible garden. Each scent drifts in and out, fleeting and subtle, never lingering long enough to overwhelm, but enough to remind you that this is no ordinary journey. The conductor returns once more, this time carrying a tray with 2 porcelain cups of steaming tea. The cups are painted with constellations, tiny stars etched into their surface. Without a word, he places 1 cup gently before you. The steam rises in soft curls, and as you take a sip, the taste is warm, floral, and unlike anything you've known. Something between chamomile, lavender, and the sweetness of night air itself. It soothes instantly, warming you from within. As you cradle the cup, you glance out the window again. The train is now gliding over a long bridge, so high above the ground that you cannot see where it ends. Beneath it, clouds drift lazily, lit from above by the moon. It feels as though the train is flying, wheels gliding effortlessly along tracks that float in the sky. There is no fear, no unease, only wonder. The bridge seems endless, stretching into the horizon, and yet the motion of the train keeps you steady, as though it knows exactly where to take you. With each mile, your eyes grow heavier. The rocking of the carriage, the rhythm of the wheels, the warmth of the tea, they weave together into a lullaby, guiding your thoughts into soft, drifting shapes. The world outside seems less solid now, more like a dreamscape, shifting gently as your mind relaxes. Hills blur into clouds, stars melt into rivers, and the night becomes a tapestry woven just for this journey. The train slows slightly as it enters a tunnel carved into the side of a mountain. Darkness surrounds the carriage, but the lamps inside glow warmly, their reflections stretching across the polished windows. The sound of the wheels deepens, echoing faintly through the stone. Yet even here there is no harshness, only the sensation of being gently carried forward, as if the mountain itself has opened its heart to let the train pass through. When the train emerges again, the world outside has changed. Now a valley opens wide before you, filled with lakes that shimmer like liquid silver. The surface of the water is so still that it reflects the stars above with perfect clarity, as though the heavens have doubled themselves. Around the lakes, willow trees dip their branches low, their leaves trailing across the mirrored surface. The air feels cool and clean, carrying the scent of water and stone. The train glides onward, circling the valley with unhurried grace. You lean back in your seat, eyelids heavy, body sinking deeper into rest. The rhythm of the wheels becomes slower, steadier, as though matching the cadence of your breath. The warmth of the tea lingers. The glow of the lamp softens, and all around you the night holds you gently. This is only the beginning of your journey aboard the sleepy train. Ahead lie mountains crowned with snow that glitters like stars, forests where lanterns hang from every branch, and skies painted with colors not yet seen. But for now, there is no rush. For now, the train simply carries you forward, rocking you gently toward dreams. And as you drift deeper into calm, the last thing you feel is the steady hum of the wheels, the soft glow of the lamps, and the quiet promise of night. Rest, traveler. The journey is long, and your dreams are waiting. The steady hum of the wheels carried you through the silver valley, and as the train curved gently along the tracks, you felt the world outside begin to shift once again. The night was no longer only a backdrop. It was alive, breathing, reshaping itself with every turn of the journey. The lamps inside the carriage glowed softly, casting golden halos across the velvet seats, while the gentle rhythm of motion pressed you further into relaxation. The conductor passed quietly once more, his polished shoes barely making a sound against the wooden floor. He carried with him a faint aroma of cedar and smoke, like a traveler who had walked through campfires and forests. He nodded at you, a knowing smile flickering at the corner of his lips, as though he could sense the weight lifting from your shoulders, the drowsiness slowly unfurling within you. The valley stretched on until the horizon melted into mist. The shimmering lakes gave way to rolling fields, their tall grasses glowing faintly with bioluminescent light. It was as if the earth had absorbed the starlight and decided to shine with its own quiet glow. The blades of grass swayed, but no wind stirred them. It was as though they moved in rhythm with the song of the earth itself, an ancient music that the train seemed to understand. You leaned your head against the window, feeling the cool glass beneath your temple, and watched as shapes began to appear along the tracks ahead. At first, they were only silhouettes, tall, elegant forms standing in the fields like statues. But as the train drew nearer, you saw they were trees, willows unlike any you had known before. Their trunks were pale and silver, as though carved from moonlight, and their long branches swept downward, trailing tendrils that shimmered faintly blue, glowing like threads spun from water. The train slowed, almost reverently, as it entered this forest of silver willows. The carriages moved as quietly as whispers, wheels brushing the tracks without a single rattle. The lamps inside the carriage flickered faintly, bowing to the glow outside, as if the two lights, man-made and natural, were greeting one another. Between the trees, tiny orbs of light floated, bobbing gently like fireflies caught in a dream. They pulsed with colors, blue, green, soft lavender, as though breathing with life. One drifted close to the window, hovering there for a moment, glowing so brightly that its reflection painted your face in silver. Then, just as softly, it drifted away, following the train deeper into the forest. The conductor appeared beside your seat, leaning slightly on his polished staff, though you were certain he had carried no such staff when you first boarded. His voice was soft, almost as though he feared disturbing the willows. "The lights you see," he said gently, "are the guardians of this forest. They follow the train, not because of curiosity, but because they know it carries those who dream. They have always protected dreamers." You nodded, your eyes half closed, feeling the truth of his words sink into you like warm water. The guardians drifted closer, clustering around the windows, their light growing stronger until the entire carriage was bathed in their glow. Some floated higher, resting near the ceiling of the train like tiny lanterns, while others glided low, weaving around the wheels and tracks. As the train moved deeper, you noticed that the branches of the willows swayed, though still no wind stirred them. It was not the air that moved them, but the guardians, tugging lightly on the tendrils as though guiding the rhythm of the forest. Each branch shimmered in return, releasing faint trails of light that spiraled upward, disappearing into the canopy. The train passed over a bridge within the forest, and below the wooden planks you saw a stream running through the grove. Its waters glowed a pale green, shimmering as though the stars themselves had dissolved into its flow. Fish swam beneath the surface, not ordinary fish, but delicate shapes made of light, their scales glowing faintly in the darkness. Each time one leapt, droplets sparkled in the air like tiny diamonds before melting back into the stream. The conductor lingered by your side, watching with you. His voice was almost a whisper. "The guardians take the form of lights here, but they are older than these trees. They are older than the forest itself. They followed the train because it moves where the waking world meets the dreaming one. You see them now because you are between the two." His words drifted into your mind, not heavy with meaning, but light, like feathers settling into place. The truth of them didn't require thought. It only asked for quiet acceptance. And so, you let them settle, while the rocking of the train lulled you further into a trance. The guardians soon began to drift away, slowly scattering into the forest, their glow fading until they seemed no different from fireflies once more. The silver willows grew taller, their branches closing overhead until the train was passing through a tunnel of living light. It felt as though the forest itself was bowing, welcoming, honoring the passage of the sleepy train. After some time, the willows parted, and the train emerged into open air once more. Ahead stretched a wide plain, covered not in grass, but in a sea of white flowers. Their petals shimmered faintly in the moonlight, turning the plain into what looked like an endless blanket of snow. The train glided gently into the field, and at once the air changed. A fragrance entered the carriage, sweet and cool, like the scent of rain mixed with blossoms. You inhaled deeply, and with it came a wave of calm so deep it seemed to sink into your bones. The flowers swayed gently in the night, each petal catching the light of the moon, and the effect was like waves rolling across the sea. A soft murmur drifted in through the window. It was not wind, nor the hum of the wheels, but something softer, a kind of lullaby. The flowers themselves were singing, each petal vibrating with a note so faint it could barely be heard. Together, the millions of voices created a song that wrapped around you like a blanket, weaving into the rhythm of your breath. The conductor returned once more, this time offering a blanket woven from soft wool, pale blue in color, light as a cloud. He draped it across your shoulders with care, as though ensuring you were warm enough for the journey ahead. "The field of flowers sings to those who listen," he said softly. "Their song eases the weary heart. Many fall asleep before we leave this place. Indeed, you felt your eyes grow heavier, your body sinking deeper into the seat. The train rolled steadily, and the song of the flowers seemed to merge with the hum of the wheels, becoming one sound, one breath, one rhythm that cradled you, The petals outside seemed to blur into waves of white light, and for a moment you could not tell if you were awake, dreaming, or somewhere in between. The journey continued across the field for what felt like hours, though time no longer carried weight. At last the field gave way to a small rise, and the train climbed gently once again. The flowers disappeared behind you, their song fading into the distance, replaced by the steady lull of the night. Ahead, mountains rose against the sky, their peaks sharp and white, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Snow clung to their ridges, glistening like powdered stars, and the air grew cooler as the train approached. You pulled the blanket closer, breathing in the crisp scent of snow carried through the window. The train moved onward, entering a pass between the mountains. Here the world felt hushed and vast, the silence deeper than anything before. The lamps inside the carriage burned steadily, their glow warm against the cold outside. You leaned back, eyes heavy, and felt the rocking motion slow slightly, as though even the train respected the majesty of these peaks. And so, the sleepy train carried you deeper into the night, into the heart of snow-capped mountains that glittered like frozen constellations. Ahead, more wonders waited, hidden in valleys and skies yet unseen. But for now, the journey itself was enough. The hum of the wheels, the warmth of the blanket, and the knowledge that this ride would never rush, never end too soon. For this is the train that carries you gently into dreams. And tonight it has only just begun. The steady rhythm of the train carried you forward into the mountain pass, the world outside wrapped in silence and silver light. The peaks loomed above, tall and graceful, their snowy crowns glittering in the moonlight as though stars had fallen and chosen to rest upon their ridges. The train curved gently through the narrow track, hugging the side of cliffs that dropped into deep valleys below. Yet there was no fear here, no danger, only the sense that the train was moving exactly where it was meant to go, along rails that had been waiting since the dawn of time. Inside the carriage, the warmth of the lamps and the softness of the blanket held you in comfort. The scent of lavender still lingered faintly in the air, mingling now with something new. The crisp fragrance of snow, sharp and refreshing, drifting in from the slightly opened window. You pulled the blanket around your shoulders and leaned your head against the glass, watching as the world outside slowly changed. The slopes of the mountains were covered in forests of pine and fir, their branches heavy with snow. Each tree looked like a candle dressed in white, and as the moonlight poured down, the snow sparkled like scattered diamonds. Occasionally, the trees parted to reveal clearings where frozen lakes lay still and quiet, their surfaces polished to mirrors reflecting both the mountains and the sky above. It was as though two worlds existed, one above, one below, each perfect in its stillness. The train moved softly, each turn slow and deliberate, never hurried. The wheels hummed low, steady like a heartbeat, guiding you onward. The deeper the train went into the mountains, the more the night seemed to quiet. No owls called, no wind stirred, only the whisper of snowflakes falling gently through the air, carried lightly to the earth as though they were feathers shed by the heavens. And then, as the train curved around one of the higher ridges, the scenery transformed. Ahead stretched a wide valley, its floor blanketed in snow so pure and untouched, it looked like an ocean frozen in place. The moonlight reflected across its surface, glowing silver and blue. In the distance, lights flickered faintly. Not stars, but lanterns. Dozens of them, glowing softly from what appeared to be a small village nestled at the base of the mountains. You leaned closer to the window, breath fogging faintly on the glass, and watched as the lights grew brighter with each passing moment. The village revealed itself slowly, as though shy in its beauty. Small wooden houses stood close together, their roofs covered in thick layers of snow, their windows glowing warmly. Lanterns hung from every eave, their golden light casting halos against the snow, so that the entire village seemed to shimmer. Narrow paths wound between the houses, cleared neatly, lined with wooden posts, tied with ribbons that fluttered faintly in the cold breeze. The train slowed, its wheels singing softly on the tracks, until it pulled gently into a small station at the edge of the village. The platform was dusted in snow, brushed clean just enough to reveal the polished wood beneath. No crowds gathered here, only a few figures waited, bundled in cloaks, their faces half hidden but glowing with quiet warmth. They did not hurry, did not jostle, but stood calmly, as though they had always known this moment would come. The conductor appeared at your side, his uniform immaculate as always, though a faint frost sparkled on his shoulders as if he had stepped through snow himself. "This is the village of lanterns," he said in his soft, steady voice. "A place where time slows even more than it does aboard the train. Here travelers rest. Some never leave." He paused, his eyes flickering to the glowing windows of the houses. "You may step outside if you wish. The train will wait. It always waits." You rose slowly from your seat, wrapping the blanket tighter around you, and followed him to the door. The moment it opened, a rush of cold air filled the carriage, crisp, sharp, yet invigorating, carrying with it the faint scent of wood smoke and pine. You stepped down onto the platform, boots crunching softly in the snow, and felt the world shift around you. The air here was quieter still, as though the mountains themselves were listening. The villagers greeted you with soft nods, their eyes kind, though none spoke. Instead, one of them, a woman with long hair the color of snow, gestured for you to follow. Her steps left neat prints in the fresh snow, and you followed her down a narrow path lined with lanterns. Each one glowed with a steady golden flame, their light bouncing against the snow so that the path looked like it was carved from fire. She led you to the heart of the village, where a wide square opened. At its center stood a great tree, its branches bare of leaves but hung with hundreds of lanterns, each one glowing softly. They swayed gently in the night air, their light flickering like stars caught in a web of branches. Beneath the tree, benches carved from wood encircled the trunk, dusted with snow yet warm to the touch when you sat. The woman placed a lantern in your hands, its flame steady and calm. She did not explain, but somehow you understood. You were meant to hold it, to let its glow guide you into peace. As you watched the flame dance, you felt your thoughts soften, the lingering threads of wakefulness unraveling one by one. The world seemed to breathe with you, the snow shimmering, the air humming with the quiet life of the village. You sat beneath the great tree, lantern in hand for what felt like hours, though time no longer mattered. Around you, the villagers moved softly, their lanterns glowing as they walked through the square, leaving trails of golden light behind them. Some carried baskets of bread. Others led children by the hand, all moving in unhurried rhythm, as though life here had no need for haste. When at last you rose to return to the train, the woman with snow-white hair met your eyes. She smiled faintly, her gaze filled with something unspoken but deeply kind. She touched the lantern you held, and at once its flame folded inward, becoming a small ember that slipped into your chest, where it glowed warmly within you. "Carry it," she whispered, her voice barely more than breath. "It will not fade." You nodded, though words felt unnecessary, and turned back toward the platform. The train waited patiently, its lamps glowing steadily, its hum as soothing as before. You stepped aboard once more, the warmth of the carriage embracing you, and settled into your seat by the window. The blanket curled around you, soft and familiar, as the train began to move again. Outside, the village drifted slowly into the distance, its lanterns glowing like fireflies until they blurred into the snowy horizon. The mountains closed in once more, their peaks towering, their ridges glowing faintly beneath the moon. The train carried you higher, deeper into the pass, the world outside vast and endless, yet somehow intimate, as though it existed only for you. The hum of the wheels grew softer, the rocking steadier, lulling you back toward the edge of dreams. The ember within your chest glowed warmly, syncing with the rhythm of your breath, a quiet reminder that you carried with you a piece of the village of lanterns. And so the journey continued, the sleepy train carrying you deeper into the mountains, toward skies not yet seen, valleys not yet revealed. Yet none of it pressed upon you, none demanded urgency, for the train was timeless, and it would carry you as long as your dreams desired. The conductor passed once more, pausing at your side. "Rest," he said simply. "There is more to come." His words wrapped around you like another blanket, and you let your eyelids grow heavier, surrendering to the rhythm, the warmth, and the endless night beyond. The snowbound mountains slowly faded into the distance, their peaks dissolving behind a veil of drifting clouds. The train pressed onward, its wheels steady and sure, following tracks that seemed to glide into the very fabric of the night itself. You leaned against the window, your breath forming a soft haze on the glass, and watched as the familiar world of snow gave way to something altogether different. At first, it was subtle, a thinning of the clouds, a widening of the sky. The stars overhead grew sharper, brighter, scattered like a sea of diamonds across the velvet darkness. Each one pulsed with its own rhythm, some faint, some blazing, as though 1,000 distant lanterns had been lit in celebration. The higher the train climbed, the more the stars revealed themselves, until it seemed as though you were no longer looking up into the sky, but looking outward into an infinite ocean of light. The conductor moved silently through the carriage, checking the lamps, adjusting nothing, yet leaving behind a sense of order and calm. When he reached your seat, he paused and tilted his head toward the window. "This," he murmured softly, his voice carrying like a lullaby, "is the bridge of stars. Few ever see it while awake. You are fortunate." You turned your gaze outward once more, and only then did you see it. A great arch of light stretching across the horizon, a ribbon of glowing white and silver suspended in the heavens. It was the Milky Way itself, yet here, on this journey, it was not distant. It shimmered close enough that the train tracks seemed to rise directly into it, as though you were about to cross from Earth into the heart of the stars. The train gave a gentle shudder, not harsh, but like a sigh, and then you felt it lift. The weight of the wheels lessened, the rumble softened, until the sound became more of a hum, a resonance that filled the air like the steady notes of a faraway choir. Slowly, steadily, the train rose from the last ridge of mountain, the tracks carrying it upward onto the shimmering bridge of starlight. The sensation was unlike anything you had known. Gravity still held you in your seat. The blanket still wrapped you in warmth, but beneath the carriage there was no longer the hard steel of rails and earth. There was only light. The train glided smoothly, floating as though upon the calmest of waters, carried forward by some ancient magic written into the fabric of the universe. Outside the window, the stars no longer looked distant. They surrounded you. They drifted close, glowing softly, as if curious about the quiet traveler nestled within the train. Some moved in clusters, pulsing together in slow rhythm. Others drifted singly, their glow delicate, like fireflies dancing across the infinite night. Occasionally one would streak across the sky in a slow, shimmering arc, a shooting star, though here, their descent was not fleeting but graceful, as though time itself had slowed to allow you to watch. The air inside the carriage grew lighter, fresher, filled with a subtle sweetness you could not name. It was as though you were breathing starlight itself, each inhalation a cooling balm, each exhalation carrying away the weight of wakefulness. The steady hum of the train became the background of your thoughts, weaving itself into the rhythm of your heartbeat, the rhythm of your breathing. You closed your eyes for a moment, just to feel it more fully, and when you opened them again, the stars had drawn even closer. They were no longer just lights, but vast orbs glowing with depth and warmth, each one alive in its own way. Some shone golden, others blue, some even faintly green or violet. You felt as though you were gliding through a cosmic garden, where each star was a flower blooming endlessly in the darkness. The train slowed as it reached the midpoint of the bridge, and outside, something extraordinary appeared. Hanging in the distance, suspended like a jewel in a crown of darkness, was a great crystalline structure. At first you thought it might be an enormous star, but as the train drifted closer, its shape became clear. It was a palace or perhaps a temple built entirely of light. Its towers rose high, tapering into spires that pierced the heavens, each one shimmering as though woven from threads of pure starlight. Its walls were translucent, glowing with faint patterns that shifted like constellations, and its gates stood open, inviting all who wished to see. The conductor appeared once more, his expression calm yet reverent. "This is the Celestial Hall," he whispered, "a place where dreams are gathered. The train always pauses here, though no one is required to step off. Some do, some only watch." You felt a tug inside you, a gentle pull, like the warmth of curiosity wrapped in calm. Slowly you rose and walked to the door, guided more by instinct than thought. The train had come to a complete stop upon the Bridge of Stars, resting as though on solid ground. Though outside there was only light, you stepped down onto the glowing surface, your feet sinking slightly into the starlight, yet held as surely as on earth. The air was cool, crisp, and filled with a faint chiming sound, like the distant ringing of crystal bells. The path to the Celestial Hall stretched ahead, its surface shimmering with every step, and you followed it with quiet wonder. When you reached the gates, they parted silently, opening to reveal a vast chamber that seemed to have no end. Its ceiling arched higher than the tallest mountain, painted with constellations that shifted and moved slowly, as though alive. Its floor was smooth, reflective, glowing with a faint silver light that mirrored the stars above. And scattered across the hall were hundreds, no, thousands, of globes of light, each one floating gently, each glowing with its own hue. You approached one of them, and as you neared, the light within shimmered and revealed an image. It was faint at first, then clearer, a dream. You saw a child asleep, smiling faintly as visions of flying through the air filled their mind. Another globe held the dream of an artist painting on a canvas that stretched endlessly. Another revealed the dream of an old sailor drifting peacefully across an endless, calm sea. These were dreams, not just imagined, but alive, collected, held, and preserved within this hall. You wandered slowly between them, your heart swelling with awe at the infinite variety, each globe a life, a hope, a wish made manifest. Some glowed brightly, pulsing with vibrant colors. Others were dim, soft, like fading whispers, yet no less precious. At the far end of the hall, upon a raised platform, stood a figure cloaked in flowing robes of starlight. Their face was hidden, yet their presence was immense, calm, and gentle. They raised a hand, and at once a globe floated toward you, glowing faintly golden. It hovered just before your chest, and with a soft pulse it entered you, not heavy, not burdensome, but light as breath. In an instant you understood. It was your dream, not the one you carried in waking life, but the one your soul whispered when all else was quiet. The warmth of it spread through you, filling your chest, your arms, your very breath. You felt lighter, calmer, more whole, as though something long lost had been gently returned. The cloaked figure lowered their hand, and though they did not speak, their silence carried meaning. You were always meant to carry this. You bowed your head in gratitude, and then without words turned to leave. The celestial hall did not hold its travelers. Dreams were gifts, not cages. You walked once more through the gates, back onto the bridge of stars, where the train still waited patiently. The moment you stepped aboard, the hum of the wheels returned, the carriage warm and inviting. The conductor glanced at you, his expression unreadable, but his eyes carried a faint glimmer, as though he knew exactly what you had been given. Without a word, he tipped his hat and moved on. The train stirred, gliding once more across the glowing bridge. The celestial hall receded into the distance, its towers fading until they were only points of light, and then only stars, and then nothing at all. Yet within you, the golden glow of your dream remained, steady and calm, humming in time with the rhythm of the train. You leaned against the window once more, watching as the stars continued to drift past, slower now, softer, as though the universe itself were tucking you into bed. The bridge of stars stretched endlessly, yet you felt no impatience. Each moment was timeless, each breath another step deeper into rest. The hum of the wheels grew softer still, their sound almost a lullaby. The lamps within the carriage flickered faintly, casting warm halos against the walls, as though they too were settling into sleep. The blanket held you close, the pillow welcomed your head, and the rhythm of the train carried you gently toward dreams of your own. And as your eyelids grew heavy once more, you knew the journey was far from over. The sleepy train would continue to glide across the bridge of stars, carrying you through constellations, past nebulae, across the thresholds of night. But for now there was only stillness, only warmth, only peace. The train moved on, into the infinite night, as you drifted once more into the soft embrace of sleep. The last echoes of the celestial hall faded behind you, its crystalline towers dissolving into the tapestry of stars, until the train once more glided alone upon the bridge of light. The hum of the wheels lulled you like the steady rhythm of a lullaby, and you felt yourself drifting halfway between waking and dreaming. Outside your window, the stars seemed softer now, as though dimming just for you, easing their brilliance into a soothing glow. They moved not with haste, but with the unhurried grace of clouds at dawn. The train glided onward, its lamps glowing warmly, the blanket still wrapped around your shoulders like an embrace. You must have closed your eyes for only a moment, yet when you opened them again, the stars had changed. They no longer hung in the infinite blackness of the sky, but appeared to dissolve into something thicker, denser, more alive. A silvery mist surrounded the train now, endless and vast, curling in soft waves. It shimmered faintly with moonlight, though no moon was visible. The bridge of stars had vanished, and in its place stretched an ocean of clouds, boundless, glowing, and impossibly serene. The conductor passed quietly through the carriage, his footsteps soundless, his presence steady. He paused once more at your side, and though he spoke no words this time, his gaze told you all you needed to know. This was no ordinary passage. You were entering another realm, one deeper still in the journey between wakefulness and dream. The mist curled against the windows, pressing gently, then parting, as though bowing to the train's passage. The clouds stretched endlessly, not above or below, but all around, as though the train had entered a sea of drifting light. You leaned closer to the glass, your breath softening against it, and the shapes within the mist began to reveal themselves. At first, they were only suggestions, faint outlines, hints of patterns, the way moonlight might form illusions in fog. But slowly the forms grew clearer. Towers rose and vanished, arches formed from the shifting mist, bridges of cloud stretched from horizon to horizon. It was as if a city were being built and unbuilt with every breath of the wind, a city made not of stone but of vapor, always changing, always drifting. The train slowed, its hum softening until it was nearly silent. You felt no jolt, no shift, only the sensation of being carried gently across an invisible current. Outside, the mist shimmered, then parted like a curtain, revealing a wide expanse. And there, floating upon the sea of clouds, was something wondrous. A vast expanse of glowing lilies, thousands upon thousands, spread in every direction, each one the size of a boat. Their petals glowed faintly silver, pulsing softly as though breathing. They drifted on the mist as though it were water, their roots disappearing into vapor, their blossoms swaying with the current. Fireflies of light, tiny spheres glowing pale gold, floated above the lilies, moving in slow, deliberate dances, weaving constellations in the air. The train glided gently between them, its lanterns reflecting in the silvery petals. You pressed your forehead against the glass, awestruck, and felt the faintest vibration through the pane. Not mechanical, not earthly. It was music. The lilies were singing. Their petals opened and closed with each swell of the mist, and from them rose a sound like the softest of choirs. Thousands of voices blending into one continuous tone. It was not loud, not sharp, but tender, like the sound of the sea against a shore, like wind moving through pine trees at night. The sound reached you not only through your ears, but through your chest, your very breath, settling into your bones like a lullaby older than time. The train slowed further, then came to rest upon a narrow strip of track that floated impossibly upon the sea of mist. The conductor appeared again, his voice soft, almost a whisper. The garden of clouds. Few linger here, but all who pass are soothed. He tipped his hat, and then, with a motion of his hand, the door of the carriage eased open. You hesitated, but the air itself seemed to beckon. Cool, fresh, scented faintly of something sweet, like blossoms carried on a night breeze. You stepped down, your feet sinking lightly onto the glowing mist, though it held you firm as any earth. The lilies swayed as if in greeting, their silver petals brushing against one another, sending tiny sparks of light across their surfaces. You walked slowly, the mist curling around your ankles, the fireflies drifting closer, circling you with quiet joy. Their light reflected in your eyes, in your breath, until it felt as though you too were glowing faintly in the darkness. The lilies continued their song, and as you listened, you felt layers of thought, of noise, of worry peeling away, each one carried into the mist and dissolved. You found a place where the lilies opened into a small clearing. There, the mist rose slightly, forming a soft cushion, like a bed shaped by unseen hands. You lowered yourself onto it, and it held you perfectly, supporting, cradling, yet as light as air. The song of the lilies deepened, surrounding you from every side, their harmony rising and falling with the gentle swell of the mist. You closed your eyes, and for a moment you were no longer yourself, but part of the vastness around you. You drifted with the lilies, you danced with the fireflies, you became the mist itself. Time stretched, folded, disappeared, until there was only the pulse of the song, only the breath of the clouds, only peace. When you opened your eyes again, you could not tell how long had passed. Perhaps moments, perhaps hours. The fireflies still glowed, the lilies still sang, but now the mist was shifting again. The current was pulling and the train waited patiently, its lanterns glowing softly, its windows warm and welcoming. You rose slowly, the mist lifting you as though helping you stand, and walked back across the sea of lilies. The conductor waited by the door, his expression unchanged, though his eyes carried the faintest softness, as though he too had once rested in the garden of clouds. You stepped back aboard, and the door closed gently behind you. The train stirred, the hum returning, the wheels turning once more upon tracks of light. Slowly the garden of clouds receded into the distance, its lilies folding their petals, their song fading until it was only memory. The fireflies drifted higher, dissolving into stars, and the mist thickened again, then parted. You leaned once more against your window, the warmth of the carriage enfolding you, the steady rhythm of the wheels carrying you forward. The sea of clouds melted into night once more, and you breathed deeply, feeling lighter, calmer, as though the song of the lilies still hummed quietly inside your chest. The train pressed onward, into deeper stillness, deeper night, deeper dreams, and as your eyelids grew heavier, you knew the journey had not ended. There were still more wonders ahead, more quiet realms waiting to be discovered. For now, though, the mist, the music, and the hum of the train lulled you gently back toward rest. You sank into your seat, the blanket tucked around you, and let the motion of the train carry you deeper, deeper, until thought dissolved into dream. The hum of the train was softer now, almost like a heartbeat woven into the night. The silver mist of the garden of clouds had dissolved behind you, its faint song still lingering in memory, like the echo of a lullaby that hums even after the last note fades. The train pressed onward, its lanterns glowing warm and steady, guiding you into yet another realm of wonder. You sat nestled in your seat, blanket drawn close, eyes half-lidded as the world outside shifted once more. At first there was only darkness, deep, endless, comforting darkness, broken only by the rhythm of the wheels and the occasional shimmer of starlight. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the blackness began to ripple. Threads of color emerged, faint at first, then brighter, weaving themselves across the sky like ribbons unfurling from the unseen hands of the night. It was an aurora. At first, a single ribbon of pale green stretched lazily across the horizon, curling and swaying as though it were alive. Then another, violet and deep, arched beside it, followed by streaks of gold, pink, and silver. The sky blossomed with light, each ribbon swaying and twisting, folding over itself, expanding until the heavens were painted with 1,000 shifting colors. The auroras cascaded down like curtains, shimmering so close it seemed you could reach out and brush your hand against their silk-like glow. The train slowed, not in burden, but in reverence, as if honoring the spectacle. The hum deepened, the wheels steady, and you felt as though the very rhythm of the train was in time with the sky itself. Each pulse of color overhead seemed to sync with the beat of your heart, each ripple a gentle wave flowing through your chest. The auroras bent closer, their shimmering curtains bowing toward the train, brushing against the carriage roof, painting the windows with soft light. You leaned your head against the glass and felt warmth radiate through it. Not hot, not sharp, but soothing, like the gentle touch of sun on your skin in spring. The conductor appeared again, though now he seemed almost luminous, his form outlined faintly by the glow of the auroras. He stopped near your seat, gazed outward with you, and said softly, "This is the realm of curtains. They shift and fold with every dream that drifts across the world below. Tonight you pass through them, and as you do, you carry their peace." You nodded, though words seemed too heavy for the moment. You returned your gaze to the sky, letting the dance of light fill you. The ribbons twisted and curled, their colors blending into one another like brushstrokes on a vast canvas. Some formed spirals, spinning slowly. Others cascaded down like waterfalls of flame and silk, and all of them moved with a rhythm beyond comprehension, yet perfectly soothing, perfectly whole. The train pressed on, gliding directly beneath the curtains. The auroras wrapped the carriage in their glow, and for a moment it was as though you were no longer moving through the night, but floating through the folds of a dream made visible. Each color had its own weight, its own sensation. Green wrapped you in calm. Blue washed over you like cool water. Violet carried mystery, gold warmed your chest, and silver drifted through your thoughts like snowflakes melting on your tongue. The passengers around you stirred faintly in their sleep, each sighing, each turning as though guided by the auroras themselves. You could almost hear the dreams they were having, woven into the soft crackle of the lights. Some dreamed of forests, some of seas, some of laughter, some of love, and all were carried gently, safely by the lullaby of the sky. As the train continued, you noticed the auroras shifting once more. Their colors folded inward, creating a tunnel of light that stretched endlessly ahead. The train entered it, the glow wrapping tightly around you, until the world outside became only shimmering motion. You felt as though you were traveling through the very veins of night, carried by currents of light that pulsed and breathed. The hum of the wheels became fainter still, blending with the crackling whispers of the auroras, until both sounds merged into one endless song. Your eyelids grew heavier, but you fought to keep them open to watch just a little longer. And then, through the tunnel of light, you began to see something new. A horizon. Faint at first, a pale glow that spread across the edge of the world. It was not sharp, not sudden, but tender, like the first brush of dawn on a sleeping meadow. The auroras parted, folding upward into vast curtains that hung high above, and the train emerged into a sky softer, gentler than night. The stars still lingered, scattered faintly across the fading darkness, but beyond them stretched the first colors of morning: pale rose, soft gold, delicate lavender, all spilling slowly, carefully across the horizon. The conductor's voice came once more, barely more than a whisper. Every night must give way to dawn. The train carries you there gently, as dreams carry you to waking. He tipped his hat, then faded into the quiet hum of the train. You leaned closer to the window, your heart swelling with the sight. The train glided above a landscape now revealed by morning light. Rolling meadows, forests heavy with dew, rivers glowing like threads of silver, all bathed in the soft gold of sunrise. The mist clung low, wrapping the earth in blankets of silver white, while the sky grew brighter, warmer, more alive. The wheels of the train grew steadier, firmer, their hum deepening as the tracks found their place once more upon solid earth. The floating bridges of starlight, the seas of clouds, the gardens of lilies, the halls of dreams, the curtains of aurora, all of it lingered behind you, tucked away in memory, in heart, in soul. And yet none of it was lost. It had all settled into you, piece by piece, like treasures placed in a chest you would carry forever. The lamps within the carriage flickered once more, then dimmed with the rising sun. Their work was done. The blanket around your shoulders grew warmer with the first rays of light. You let your eyes drift closed, no longer fighting the pull of rest. The train slowed again, not with finality, but with gentleness, easing into a rhythm meant for the last steps of a journey. Outside, the sun crested higher, painting the sky with a brilliance too great for words. Inside, the steady hum, the warmth, the memory of light carried you into the softest, deepest sleep. And in that sleep, the train carried you still onward and onward, through endless meadows, endless dreams, endless peace. The sleepy train had done its work, and you, wrapped in warmth and calm, drifted deeper, deeper into rest.